Hello and welcome. Tonight, trouble looms in the aviation sector as operators lament high cost of fuel, say industry may shut down after 72 hours. INEC awaits certified true copy of Federal High Court order against Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi, even as the PDP nominee for his replacement asked the governor to obey the court order. Lagos Police Command beefs up security within the metropolis over security concerns arising from the removal of chairman of the Lagos State NURTW, Mr. Leo Akisoya, by the national body. And on the international scene, Russian-Ukraine war continues as there is no real progress in diplomatic talks between both countries. We also have more from our London studios and around the world in 5.
On business news tonight, financial derivatives company predicts February headline inflation figure lower at 15.57% amid higher energy prices ahead of official report from the National Bureau of Statistics.
On sports news tonight, Chelsea Football Club's Russian owner Roman Abramovich hit with a UK assets freeze and travel ban, throwing his plans to sell the European and World Club champions into disarray.
And from the nation's capital, a committee of vice-chancellors weigh into the impasse between the federal government and ASUU, push for more funding of university education by the government.
The next 72 hours may be critical to the operations of airlines in the country, and that is because the operators say they have been paying the costs of subsidizing aviation fuel. According to the airline operators, with the current price of aviation fuel, they cannot operate safely with the 50,000 naira base for airfares. That position was echoed by the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Muda Nuhu, who was speaking during a meeting with the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives over the scarcity and high costs of aviation fuel. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
The Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives and some members meet with airline operators and regulatory agencies of the aviation sector. The meeting is to unravel the circumstances surrounding the increase in airfares brought about by scarcity and increase in aviation fuel.
1 year ago, you were selling...
The Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and the GMD of the NNPC brief on how dire the situation is.
Considering the cost of air ticket now, the base of 50 naira, the airline industry cannot survive. It's either we shut them down because they cannot generate enough revenue to operate safely, sir. I'm not even talking about cancellations and delays. I'm talking about safety of flight operations.
Today, the landing cost of air ticket today in the country today is 418 naira today. I just checked that with my colleague here. What would it be? The price that we have no control, that's what the international price is. It is 418 naira today.
The airline operators are disturbed by the hike in aviation fuel from 190 to 670 naira per litre.
We wanted to shut that, but when we look back, with benefit of hindsight, what the legislation did for airlines, what the presidency did for airlines, we decided to sacrifice for this country. On this table, you find two Nigerian patrons because we are subsidizing what at each level one of you are using in flying. But we cannot continue. We cannot last the next 72 hours doing that.
We are now beginning to compromise even in our safety. All of us fly here. All of us fly here. Nobody, if you tell somebody to take cab, go by road to Maiduguri, he will not go. All of us fly here. So why are we trying to compromise our safety? It's a critical issue. Who is bringing this fuel? And what price are they bringing? Somebody has to regulate them.
Attention turns to the Consumer Protection Council, which is accused of not doing its job.
Our intervention was first to other airlines that they cannot coordinate.
Do you have the communication?
Well, it was online. We put
Do
it
you
out.
have the communication?
I do not have it here, but the airlines do not dispute that they received an order. Every airline here received an order from the FCCPC.
Who would be doing business that will have this market increase and maintain the same price if it's their own business?
No,
Let's be honest.
and we understand that, right, Honorable.
And that's why I'm asking you, you as an agent of government, you are supposed to be concerned about the price, you are supposed to monitor, so you are failing your duty.
Respectfully, sir.
It's okay, thank you.
A GMD, whoever is responsible, whether regulatory, supervisory, authority, whatever it is, you know what the law is. And you know the law better than all of us here. In fact, you drop the process.
The lawmakers are concerned about the continued price increase, as well as the reason why marketers are insisting on upfront cash payment. The marketers are to appear before the committee subsequently for further investigation. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And to political matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is yet to receive the true certified copy of the Federal High Court judgment that sacked Ebonyi State Governor and his deputy. National Commissioner Festus Okoye, who spoke to Channels Television in an exclusive interview, confirmed that the Commission has, however, received a letter from the People's Democratic Party nominating replacements for the Governor and his deputy. According to him, the Commission will meet and study the judgment once the certified copy is received and will act accordingly.
On the 8th day of March 2022, we received a letter from the national chairman of the PDP, and the letter was jointly signed with the national secretary, intimating the commission of the said judgment and calling for compliance. Now, as of today, we are yet to receive the certified true copy of the said judgment. As a commission, we do not operate on the basis of hearsay. As a commission, we do not base our decisions on social media reports, and we don't even base our decisions on newspaper reports. We base our decisions on the true intendment of judgments that we receive from the various courts. When we receive a judgment, we look at all the variables involved. We look at what the court has asked us to do. And also, if there are other surrounding issues, we look at them, and then we take a decision as a commission and convey to the Nigerian public and also convey to the parties involved. So the commission has a history of obedience to court orders. The commission also has a history of being upfront with information relating to very challenging national issues. And so the moment we get a certified true copy of the judgment of the court, we'll meet as a commission, take a decision, and then we convey such decision to the Nigerian people.
And while the illegal fireworks continue, the nominee of the People's Democratic Party for Governor of Ebonyi State, Igariwe Duma, is asking Governor David Umahi to immediately vacate office without delay. He is a member of the House of Representatives and is asking INEC to comply immediately with the court order and issue a certificate of return to him and Mr. Fred Udegu, who was nominated by the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Uduma was speaking to the House of Representatives press corps in the nation's capital.
Apart from the order directing Governor Umahi and his deputy to vacate their offices, the court entirely also directed INEC to immediately receive from the PDP the names of its candidates to replace Governor David Umahi and his deputy, and to declare those names submitted by the PDP as the governor and deputy governor of Ebonyi State. While we acknowledge that INEC is in receipt of the communication from the national chairman of the PDP, we call on INEC as a critical pillar of our constitutional democracy to comply expeditiously with all the consequential orders of the court, particularly by declaring the names submitted by the PDP as governor and deputy governor. This the INEC is expected to do by issuing certificates of declaration of return. From the clear and unambiguous order made by Justice Inyang Ekwo, it is an incontrovertible fact that Governor David Umahi ceased to be governor of Ebonyi State on the 8th day of March 2022. 2 days after this judgment, Mr. Umahi and his deputy still parade themselves as if they still occupy those offices.
Well, staying with the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in order to avoid division in Edo State chapter, the national chairman of the party, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, is urging the party's leadership in the state to learn from the past mistakes of infighting. He asked the leaders to throw their weight behind Governor Godwin Obaseki ahead of the general elections in 2023. Senator Ayu was speaking during a welcome rally in his honor at the Garrick Memorial Secondary School in Benin City, the state capital.
The PDP national chairman and his entourage are ushered onto the stage. It's a reception by the Edo PDP family to formally welcome him. The ongoing leadership tussle within the Edo State chapter of the party tops the agenda, as officials of the state chapter insist that Governor Godwin Obaseki has done well in spite of the distractions.
PDP in Edo State, under our leader, the governor of the state, is in very safe hands. Yes, we have issues. That is why we are welcoming you here to help us sort out that issue.
Some of the PDP leaders seek a more united front. They believe the party stands to lose if Governor Obaseki leaves.
PDP was not in government in Edo State over 12 years. And now we have the party, we have the government. Do you want to lose the government? People are saying the governor will not leave PDP. The governor will only remain in PDP when he sees his soldiers remaining in PDP.
Meanwhile, the man at the center of the discussions maintains that the current rancor within the party could be inimical to its success in 2023.
So once you can solve the little quarrel in Edo, solve the little quarrel in other states, definitely we will be in Aso Rock come May 29th, 2023. Under your tenure, Mr. Chairman, we will produce the next president in 2023.
For the PDP national chairman, history can only repeat itself if the leaders in Edo State continue with the infighting at such a critical time.
Every state chapter of the PDP that has problems, we are going to move into it. We'll resolve the problem. We'll make sure the leaders are united on one page.
Moving forward, the PDP hierarchy says it will begin the process of reconciliation of aggrieved members in Edo State, promising that a committee will be set up to address all issues.
And to security, the military says troops have over 100 terrorists in various operations in the northeast, the northwest and north central regions of the country. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyuko, said this during the bi-weekly media briefing at the Defense Headquarters in Abuja, where he highlighted some of the achievements of the military within the last 2 weeks. In part two, after the break, Lagos Police Command beefs up security within the metropolis over security concerns arising from the removal of chairman of the Lagos State National Union of Road Transport Workers, Mr. Liu Akinsoya, by the national body. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Trouble looms in the aviation sector as operators lament high cost of fuel. They predict industry may shut down after 72 hours. INEC awaits certified true copy of Federal High Court order against Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi, even as the PDP nominee for his replacement asked the governor to obey court order after Mr. Umahi appealed the court judgment. Lagos Police Command beefs up security within the metropolis over security concerns arising from the removal of chairman of the Lagos State NURTW, Musiliu Akinsanya, by the national body. And Russian-Ukrainian war continues as there is no real progress in diplomatic talks between both countries. The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Abiodun Alabi, has directed all area commanders and divisional police officers to beef up security and maintain visibility in their area of coverage. This is coming on the heels of the indefinite suspension of the Lagos State Chapter Chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, Musiliu Akinsanya, popularly called MC Oluomo, after alleged misconduct in subordination and inciting members of the state chapter against the apex body. The state police boss has also given directive on deployment and patrol of all motor parks across the state. The NURTW Lagos chapter suspended MC Oluomo earlier today, and the police move is to curb any form of violence that may arise. A 9-year-old boy has been shot and killed at an annual inter-house sports competition at Agolo High School in Ikare, Akoko, the headquarters of Akoko Northeast local government area of Ondo State. 2 other students who sustained injuries from the gunshot are currently being treated at an undisclosed hospital in the town, while the remains of the boy have been deposited at the morgue. The shooting, which was said to have been carried out by suspected hoodlums for reasons that are unknown. The spokesperson of the Ondo State Police Command, Fumilayo Odulami, confirmed the incident, explaining that the police have commenced investigations. She also informs that police detectives are already on the trail of the gunmen. Well, the Deputy Governor of Kebbi State, Smaila Dabai, has been recounting his ordeal after bandits ambushed his entourage in Kanya Waji district of Danko Wasagu local government area of the state on Tuesday. Now, he has been visiting Zuru Emirates as part of military operations to tackle bandit activities in the area. In a statement, he lamented the spate of informants disguising in public and revealing movement of troops as well as vigilante groups. Meanwhile, Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal has commiserated with the people and government of Kebbi State over the incident, which he described as unfortunate and regrettable. Kebbi State Governor, on his part, said the situation is frustrating.
It is unfortunate, it's condemnable, and I appeal to the people of Kebbi State to continue to support the governor and give him maximum cooperation and support. In matters of security, we must not introduce politics. We must all work together. There is no political differences, no religious differences, no ethnicity, because when these people come, they don't ask for your party, they don't ask about your religion, they don't ask about your ethnicity. They are all agents of devil, and they're evil incarnate, and they are all working against humanity. So we must all put our hands on deck and work together as people, as a people and as leaders to ensure that we reestablish peace in our state of Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara, northwest, northern Nigeria, and indeed in the entirety of the country.
This calls to attention the need for us, as always, to support our security agencies. We are not alone. Security challenges sometimes are even global. All of sub-Saharan Africa, there is one challenge or the other, and they are not isolated. They may seem far away, but they are things that we need to pay attention to, support each other, and support even beyond countries, so that collectively we can continue to ensure that we dominate and that by God's grace we can.
We have more stories on security. Terry Kumi brings us more from our Abuja studios. Right, Terry?
You're absolutely right, Millicent. Now, let's go to The Governors Forum and civil society organizations who have expressed divergent views regarding the best approach to addressing insecurity in the country. While the chairman of the Governors Forum, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State, believes strongly that community policing is the way to go, some members of civil society organizations express serious concern about the growing shift from constitutionally recognized security agencies to other community security systems. Speakers bear their minds on the ongoing multi-stakeholders peace and inclusive security meeting in Abuja.
It's a multi-stakeholders security meeting in Abuja, jointly convened by the Nigeria Governors Forum and the Center for Democracy and Development.
That comes to equity.
The discussions center on the causes of insecurity in the country and how to prefer solutions to the problems.
At our level at the CGD, we are engaged in research to discover what are the real dynamics of these insecurity at the level of the grassroots. Lots of efforts, lots of ideas are being placed on the table.
The Deputy Governor of Plateau State highlights some of the causes of insecurity in his state.
The trust deficit between the various communities and between the communities and the government was a major threat to peace and security. And we felt we should address that first. And that was why we set up the Peace Building Agency.
Rising insecurity across the country has recently given birth to a plethora of informal security networks. While some have commended these efforts to secure the communities, the increased shift of loyalty from the state security agencies to these informal security networks is now a source of concern.
If loyalties of local communities and local people is shifting, these loyalties are shifting away from state and constitutionally recognized, security outfits to these local independent vigilante groups that they can deploy using their own local authorities. I think that is really a thing of concern.
However, the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum has a different opinion on the informal security networks to secure communities.
Security cannot be left in the hands of government. So if communities commit themselves to protecting themselves, ultimately it's the way to go.
Insecurity is a major problem in Nigeria, and several meetings like this one have been held to brainstorm on solutions, as citizens hope that the outcomes will one day help the government through its agencies to address the problems once and for all.
Away from security to education matters now. As the industrial action declared by university lecturers continues, the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Universities is throwing its weight behind the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Arising from a meeting in Abuja, the Vice Chancellors asked the federal government to honor its agreement with ASU, urging it to provide adequate funding for the education sector. The university administrators also asked the federal government to lift the embargo on employment to enable the universities recruit more academic and non-academic staff.
Funding our university is critical. If we really want to compete favorably with our sister universities overseas, we need to fund our universities very well. And I think even the government position, they are there. I think if they want to be sincere, they know that our universities require funding. On issues of the ongoing strike, the committee is urging federal government and ASU to resolve the issues as soon as possible so that we will not face this kind of breakage of our academic calendar for too long. That will affect our educational system. If you reach an agreement, you need to fulfill it. And where you think that is not possible, from the beginning, you will have made that known. And if you are not fulfilling agreements, people will not take you serious. Core on our issues was the issue of embargo on employment. And that will definitely affect our university system. and that we are pleading with the federal government to lift embargo and should not include our university system.
And from education to environment, where the Minister of State, Ms. Sharon Ikeazo, is restating the federal government's commitment towards a safer and cleaner environment for all. The minister, who made the commitment at a meeting with the Executive Secretary of the Pan-African Great Green Wall Initiative in Abuja, is also seeking the cooperation of member countries in Africa to live up to their financial commitments towards addressing erosion, deforestation, and flooding, just as Nigeria is taking a lead in the campaign.
At this point, I would like to reiterate President Buhari's commitment in supporting the Pan-African Agency on the Great Green Wall for him to provide the Great Green Integrator Program with its own financial instruments, and also to the recommendations of the 4th session of the Conference of Heads of State and Governors and Governments of the PAGGW. So in this regard, the Secretariat must ensure the technical and financial viability to operationalize all these recommendations. This will form part of President Buhari's roadmap in providing purposeful leadership towards addressing land degradation, climate change, deforestation, food security, desertification, and biodiversity loss in Africa within the 2 years of his tenure.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Financial Derivatives Company predicts February headline inflation figure lower at 15.57% amid higher energy prices. Join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. It was another day of protests by women at the gate of the National Assembly in Abuja as they vowed to continue the exercise until the 5 gender bills rejected by the federal lawmakers are revisited. The women stopped lawmakers from gaining entrance into the National Assembly through the main gate, forcing them to go through the back gate of the complex. Our correspondent Kayla Megawa was there and filed this report.
The 1 million women protest enters day 7. The women begin the day with a light workout. Twice, the women had to stop lawmakers attempting to break through the barricades they put up. They begin their solidarity walk along Democracy Avenue.
Where women begin to rule, where women begin to rule.
The protesters hope their cries will be listened to. However, do their demands have a time frame as the country gets ready for the 2023 elections? A constitutional review is a cumbersome, time-consuming endeavor. Will the women be able to get their demands before the elections in less than a year? One of the conveners says there is ample time for the lawmakers to do the right thing or risk being voted out.
Some of the things we are pushing forward, if they agree with our demands, they can sort it out within 4 weeks. We will picket their constituency and we will start from tomorrow. So we need to let them know that. So it's important for them to take our 5 for 5. No retreat, no surrender.
The protesting women get a boost from the United Nations as the United Nations Women Country Representative addresses the protesters.
You know, we were born out of the women's movement around the world. The United Nations women grew out of that, and so we very much align with the women's movement in Nigeria, and we will support you through the advocacy, through whatever we can do at the policy level. And I just want to encourage you in solidarity, because if Nigeria gets it right, Africa gets it right.
Even if they get 5 for 5 from both houses, these particular bills still have to go to the states, and the states also have to vote in favor of these gender bills. Then it will be sent back to the president for assent. There are so many things that they're up against. One is timing. The elections are coming up really soon. Will there be lawmakers willing to be focusing on gender bills at a time when politicking really takes up speed at the end of the year? These are questions that women are aware of.
But they say to us that they will stand their ground. Every inch, they say, is progress for them. And they'll be blocking these gates until they get their demands. From the gates of the National Assembly in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
We'll talk about resilience. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate is urging women not to lose hope in their demands for legislation on gender-related matters. Senator Ahmed Lawan, in a statement by his media aides, told the women, quote, to continue to lobby because nobody will like to undermine anybody. Let's not lose hope, end of quote. He adds that the National Assembly will continue to work together with gender-based organizations, especially those that genuinely want to engage with the lawmakers, saying that will help members of the National Assembly in ensuring that they get some of these hurdles out of the way. Senator Lawan made the comment at a forum in Agasa in Kogi State. Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Millicent, back to you.
Thank you, Terry. And from here, we move to health matters. A number of scholarly works have underscored the relationship between nutritional development and the quality of health of people, especially among vulnerable groups. A valuable addition to this body of knowledge has just been unveiled in the latest inaugural lecture at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Osun State. The 359th inaugural lecture by Professor Funke Olumakaye, a public health expert, sheds light on malnutrition challenges in female adolescents and adoptable modalities to break the cycle.
It's the 359th inaugural lecture at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife in Osun State, delivered by a public health and nutrition expert, Professor Funke Olumakaye. The event attracts various scholars and guests who are gathered here at the popular Oduduwa Hall of the institution. The focus of this lecture is on smart teens understanding the magic bullet to break malnutrition cycle, journey to the world of adolescent nutrition. The delivery aptly delves into nutritional problems confronting female adolescents in developing countries, accessible quality nutrition for productive life, and weight management, amongst others.
Pregnant undernourished female adolescents may likely give birth to undernourished babies with low birth weight, who die at birth or before age 2 years, thereby contributing to the increase in maternal, infant, and under 5 mortality rate or stunted growth at adulthood. Likewise, an overweight female gives birth to an overweight child, and the intergenerational vicious cycle of malnutrition continues.
For the inaugural lecturer, it is imperative to leverage on emerging technologies and raise healthy adolescents to make the nation's workforce economically viable while flattening the curve in maternal and child mortality.
Adolescents have a digital life found in mobile phones that makes them smart teens. Adolescent girls are razor sharp and have to be circumspect in dietary decisions to live a healthy adult life. Without any fear of contradiction, I have decided to leverage their digital life to improve their dietary behavior, which can be acquired through appropriate intervention programs specifically targeted towards them.
Some of those in attendance considered the lecture intellectually stimulating.
She's an erudite scholar. You could see things for yourself. The way she marshaled her points. She's very, very brilliant, and at the same time, humble. We've benefited from her wealth of knowledge.
Professor Funke Olumakaye, who is also the wife of Bishop Humphrey Olumakaye, Archbishop of the Ecclesiastical Province of Lagos Anglican Communion, is a passionate scholar who has won awards within and outside Nigeria and attracted many international research grants, some of which are still being maximized to record more feats in the field.
To other health stories, medical experts have urged governments at all levels to key into private and public partnership in promoting financing for family planning and integrated health services as a model for revitalizing Nigeria's healthcare delivery system. The experts stated this at the 38th Annual Scientific Conference organized by the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, supported by Development Research and Project Center and funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Ilorin, Kwara State.
The need for family planning is being canvassed by most governments of the world, with Nigeria inclusive.
The Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, in collaboration with Development Research and Project Center, is meeting in Ilorin, Kwara State on how the government could partner with the private sector to enhance funding of family planning in the country.
Observing the national budget trend analysis from 2017 down to 2022 revealed that only in 2018 and 2020 did Nigeria meet its $4 million commitment for allocation and full releases.
If it could be the leadership of this association that should constantly interface with the Federal Ministry of Health to get to know the happenings without having to wait for forums like this, so that you can be a contributor to things that shape and changes the policy direction or environment within the health sector.
Since the private sector is an important part of any total health system and is also critical to the provision of medical products, the Pharmacists Council believe the training being offered its members will go a long way.
We have a lot of evidences on ground about what we have done as a regulatory body, the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, in this direction to ensure the adequate engagement of our private sector healthcare providers.
Other panelists also shared the same view, especially with the need for the medical stakeholders to interface with the federal agencies on how to ensure proper funding of family planning, and also for collaboration with the private providers, especially in rural areas.
And if we really want to, enjoy the dividends of democracy in this country, we need to be intentional about family planning.
Health financing is a very, very terrible tool in raising the health indices of our citizens of our country.
At the end of the technical presentation, questions and observations are raised on how to ensure funding for family planning by the government at all levels.
And to other stories, a Lagos-Ibadan-bound train today stopped abruptly after allegedly running out of diesel. According to an eyewitness who was on the train, the crew members told passengers that the train could no longer move because it had exhausted its diesel. Meanwhile, the spokesman of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Mr. Mahmoud Yakubu, debunked the claim, saying he is not aware of the incident. Well, for more on the predictions of the financial derivatives company, February headline inflation, and other business news, here's Teniola Shibowale.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Well, Nigeria's headline inflation rate is expected to decline further for a second consecutive month this year, from 15.6 to 15.57%. That's according to latest forecast by economic think tank Financial Derivatives Company. However, the projection, which follows a survey of commodity markets in Lagos and some parts of the country, expects core inflation to increase to 13.98%, largely due to the impact of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, which pushed up the price of petrol products as well as commodities such as wheat and corn. Meanwhile, the National Bureau of Statistics is to release the country's February inflation report on Tuesday next week. And still talking about inflation, but outside our shores, rising energy, food and services prices pushed the already elevated U.S. inflation rate to a fresh 40-year high in February on rising costs of gasoline, food and housing. Latest data released by the Labor Department shows that the Consumer Price Index jumped from 7.5% in January to 7.9% last month, and that's its highest level since January 1982. Where it hit 8.4%. Meanwhile, economic analysts say the U.S. inflation rate is expected to rise even further, with oil and commodity markets disruptions from the Russia-Ukraine crisis expected to add more cost pressures. The management of Guinness Nigeria has clarified that the company has no plan of leaving Nigeria, contrary to statements made on some social media platforms. The managing director of the listed brewing giant, Baker Magunda, who describes the publication as misleading, explains that the company's financial performance for half-year of 2021 shows its operating profits grew by 266% to 13.6 billion naira. His comments is coming at a time manufacturers are complaining of a tough operating environment amid the rising cost of goods and services and the energy crisis in the country. An additional 41 billion naira is added to the total value of equities listed on the domestic stock market as MTN Nigeria takes the lead of 20 gainers at the close of today's trading session. Will Ibong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Nigeria's equities market sustained intraday gains to end today's trading session in the green, up 0.16% as investors continued bargain hunting. The all-share index added 76.89 points, staying within the day's range of 47,180 and 47,383 points. Indicators showed strong buy in today's session, but the activity chart is low compared to yesterday as 261 million units were traded in 4,672 deals valued at 4.47 billion naira. MTN Nigeria added 2 naira to close at 206 naira. I guess investors are happy with today's news as MTN Group hinted higher dividend payout for 2022. The duo of Tier 1 lenders, Zenith Bank and Access Bank, also supported today's gains and added 0.37% gains to the banking counter. It's a slightly positive market breadth with 21 gainers led by Alti Briscoe as the stock price added 6 kobo, while Royal Exchange led 19 decliners to close at 9.46% down. To the top trades now, the trio of QTix, Access Bank and FCMB were the most traded by volume. Final trading day for the week tomorrow. Let's see if investors bring more buying pressure. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibong. It's back to you.
And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Teniola Shobowale. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Tenny. The International Committee of the Red Cross says many people in the city of Mariupol have now run out of food for their children. The ICRC team in Mariupol says people are now fighting each other for food and some stealing fuel from other people's cars. Simon Pusey has more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A first round of talks between the foreign ministers of Russia and Ukraine has failed to yield progress on a ceasefire. Speaking after the meeting in Turkey, Dmytro Kuleba said that the demands his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov had made amounted to a surrender. Mr. Lavrov, meanwhile, said his country's military operation was going to plan. Meanwhile, footage has emerged purportedly showing the huge convoy of tanks approaching the capital Kyiv being bombed by Ukrainian shells and missiles. Ukrainian officials say 3 people, including a child, were killed in a Russian strike on a maternity and children's hospital in the city of Mariupol. President Volodymyr Zelensky said people were trapped under the wreckage and called the attack a war crime. He also posted footage apparently from inside the hospital, which appeared badly damaged. Some 17 people were also injured, including staff and patients. Ukrainian refugees who have passports or ID cards will be able to apply for UK visas online from Tuesday. The Home Secretary said the move had been done with the approval of the security services. It will only apply to people applying under the scheme where they can join family members already in the UK.
From Tuesday, I can announce that Ukrainians with passports will no longer need to go to a visa application centre to give their biometrics before they come to the UK. Instead, once their application has been considered and appropriate checks completed, they will receive direct notification that they are eligible for the scheme and can come to the UK.
South Korea has chosen a conservative opposition candidate, Yoon Suk-yeol, as the country's next president, following a tightly contested race.
국민의 안전과 재산
Mr. Yoon, a political novice, edged out a victory over the Democratic Party's Lee Jae-myung based on promises to tackle class inequality. The result was one of the closest in history, with the final count separated by less than 1%. Mr. Yoon called his win a victory for the great South Korean people. A police report has revealed the director of hit superhero film Black Panther was mistaken for a bank robber as he tried to take money out of his own account in the US. Body cam footage shows police attending the incident.
Hey, sir.
Ryan Coogler was trying to withdraw $12,000 from the Atlanta bank in January.
Put your hand back. Got it.
The teller had reportedly told her boss she suspected an attempted robbery after misinterpreting the situation.
I stated to the officers that arrested me.
The director, who has been working on the sequel to 2018's Black Panther, was briefly handcuffed and detained before proving his identity and being released.
Someone slipped a note.
And finally, the singer-songwriter Lionel Richie has been honoured with the Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for Popular Song.
Please, let us give a heartfelt ovation to the 2022 Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for Popular Song honoree, Lionel Richie.
Gloria and Emilio Estefan, who received the prize in 2019, and actor Anthony Anderson were on hand to honour their friend and fellow artist. In 1985, Richie wrote the Grammy Award-winning We Are the World with Michael Jackson to raise money for African famine relief. Richie said that We Are the World's lyrics hold as much relevance in 2022 as they did when he wrote them back in the mid-1980s. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Well deserved there. And now for some sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Thank you so much, Millicent. Chelsea Football Club's Russian owner Roman Abramovich has been hit with a UK assets freeze and travel ban, throwing his plans to sell the European and World Club champions into disarray. The British Minister for Sport and Culture, Nadine Dorries, says Abramovich cannot benefit from any sale of the club. Well, the government has issued a special license to allow Chelsea to play fixtures and pay staff, but has limited the sale of tickets and merchandise.
Benefit from revenue from the club, and he cannot benefit from the sale of the club. Abramovich has links to Putin, who is mounting a barbaric and evil attack against the people of Ukraine. This government, we in this department, stand with the people of Ukraine. And as I said, I'm afraid sanctions have consequences. Abramovich's actions have consequences too.
In the English Premier League, Chelsea's players ignored the uncertainty surrounding the club and serious allegations against its chairman, with goals from Trevor Chalobah, Mason Mount and Kai Havertz cementing them in third place thanks to a 3-1 victory at Norwich. Bruno Guimaraes scored a spectacular winner on his full Newcastle debut as the Magpies came from behind to beat Southampton and stretched their unbeaten Premier League run to 9 games. Wolves returned to form with a comfortable 4-0 win over Watford at Molineux that leaves Roy Hodgson's side deep in relegation trouble. Aston Villa beat Leeds United 3-0. Tiger Woods has taken his place among the game's greats as he was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame. During a ceremony at the PGA Tour headquarters in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, Woods delivered a speech about his career and those who helped him along the way after his 14-year-old daughter Sam introduced him for induction. World and Olympics long jump bronze medalist Esa Brumi will lead Nigeria's contingent to the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Belgrade, Serbia next weekend. The 25-year-old will be competing in her first World Indoor Championships, which runs from the 18th to the 20th of this month. While other athletes listed by the Athletics Federation of Nigeria for the championships include Ruth Osoro, the reigning NCAA indoor champion in triple jump, and the 4x400 meters quartet of Sikira Adeyemi, Ifeanyi Ojeli, Nathaniel Sampson, and Timothy Emeogene. And that's a wrap on sports news. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayetunde. And the main news again. Trouble appears to be looming in the aviation sector as operators today lamented the high cost of fuel, just as they predicted that the industry might shut down after 72 hours. Also today, INEC said it was yet to receive the certified true copy of the Federal High Court order against Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi, even as the PDP nominee for his replacement asked the governor to obey the court order. Meanwhile, Governor Umahi and his deputy have appealed the judgment of the Federal High Court. That's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Wonwaka. Have a good night and stay safe.